The biggest problem with capitalism is that a lot of the time, companies and entire industries can maximize their profits in ways that are actually harmful, and in some cases extremely harmful, to consumers. Call of Duty has done just that. To understand why Call of Duty lags and will continue to lag on purpose, you have to first accept that Call of Duty is a product made by a business seeking to maximize its profits. It's not about the fairness of the game, it's not about how well the game runs, it's about how much money the game can make. Now, the business model for Call of Duty is different from other games. The COD business model is actually very similar to cigarette companies' business models. The idea is to get you addicted, and then it doesn't matter what kind of product they put out because you are an addict, you will buy it regardless. And I don't mean to sound like a condescending prick, but I do kind of roll my eyes whenever I see someone in the comment section of a video or whatever calling this the worst Call of Duty ever, and it's such a garbage game, because the fact of the matter is they're posting these comments after watching a Call of Duty video, and the only reason they know it sucks is because they bought and played the most recent Call of Duty. You know, people give these full dissertations as to why the game sucks. This gun is way OP, the spawn system is broken, it's so laggy. So obviously, if you know these things, you played the game extensively, right? That's the only way you can know these things, otherwise you're just talking out your ass, which is even dumber. Now, these folks, just like the majority of us, are addicts. Addicts who are pissed off because they can't get their high. And I speak from experience because I am guilty of the same shit. I remember when Black Ops 1 came out, it had serious lag issues, and I went from being this self-proclaimed demigod on Modern Warfare 2 to just getting shit on Black Ops 1 because of the serious lag issues that game had. And I raged on comment sections in the forums and told everyone what a terrible game it was. And meanwhile, I continued to play the game because I was heavily addicted, and I still am. And I've bought every COD since then, just like the rest of these motherfuckers who've been proclaiming the franchise is dead for 5 years as it continues to break sales records. Generally, addicts hate the thing they are addicted to. That's the point. That's what makes it an addiction as opposed to something you just enjoy doing. So all this hate that Call of Duty gets is irrelevant to the developers because they know you'll keep buying the game. Otherwise, they would have addressed the lag issue by now. But they haven't, because despite all the frustration with it, in terms of maximizing profits, the lag in Call of Duty is a net plus, and it is something they have done on purpose. And keep in mind, it would be pretty easy to fix these lag issues, rewriting a bit of code in the engine, getting the game on dedicated servers. That's what I always feel like is the biggest slap in the face to COD players, is that we still don't have dedicated servers, when even fucking Homefront, with its PS2 graphics and all of it, 100 total players, gets dedicated servers. The COD developers' goal is to give every player that one game, that one really, really good game where for some mysterious reason everything goes their way, they get all their score streaks and drop a 10k D, and it's really exciting, and they feel like a badass when it's over. Because they know that if they can give you that one game, you will be hooked. If you play that one good game, you are going to be playing for a long time trying to recreate that success, to get that rush again. I'm sure most of you remember the match that got you hooked. In fact, you probably remember several. And that's the ultimate success of any product, is creating that emotional connection between you and the product. And if you remember a really good game you had, and you remember it fondly, that's what that is, an emotional connection. The first two matches that I think really got me hooked were on Modern Warfare 2, and they were both tactical nukes. First one was Wasteland Capture the Flag, and I remember the fat adrenaline rush I got as I was in the chopper gunner, and I remember when I called in the nuke, I just put my controller down and stood up, and I was like, fuck yes! And then I fell to my knees because it was the most adrenaline my body had ever tasted, and I was feeling kind of light. Second one was a tactical nuke on sub base, and I was playing with my boy Tommy, and I'd come out of the chopper gunner, and I knew I was really close to the nuke, like 2 or 3 kills, but my gun was out of ammo. And this is back when I was a little pussy, and I was just camping in one of those staircases by the walkway, if you remember that thing, and I would not leave the room, and I was freaking out, heart beating hella fast, hands shaking, and I was like, shit, Tommy, what do? I'm out of ammo, I'm close to my nuke. And Tommy came over to me, cooked a grenade, kills himself, gives me his ACR, and I used the ACR to camp for the nuke, and I got it, and that was fucking epic, and we felt epic, and it was an epic story. It was fucking funny, and we both were just ecstatic over that shit, and that's how they get you addicted, right, is with those matches. And what's working in their favor is that a newer player is always going to have lower standards, right? The newer the player, the lower their standards will be. Like by the end of Modern Warfare 2, I was dropping nukes pretty regularly, pretty easily, to the point I didn't even enjoy it anymore. I put on Pavlo instead, and ultimately that plays a role in why people get so frustrated. Is because later on in the game, the more you do it, the harder it is to get the same satisfaction, that same excitement, that same fun or high, but you never stop chasing. because that memory is so strong. I'm not sure anything will ever be as exciting as the nuke I got with Tommy, but for 3 years I have not stopped chasing. And this is also exactly why Call of Duty wants to always compress the skill gap as much as possible, because they are operating with the priority of providing at least one good game, one good match to every player to get them hooked. However, and this is where we start to understand why they lag on purpose, the COD developers started to notice a serious problem in Modern Warfare 2. You see, the developers had actually anticipated that the strong, experienced players would begin to decimate the weaker, newer players. As more and more Call of Duties came out, they correctly concluded that a new player on the newest Call of Duty would be at a severe disadvantage if playing against an enemy that had already played extensively on 2 to 3 other Call of Duty games. They had seen the early beginnings of this dastardly development in Call of Duty the 4th, with the vicious spawn traps, and sometime later some former IW employees were quoted anonymously in a gaming magazine saying that the developers were flabbergasted, and I quote, deeply concerned with how quickly players were able to figure out and set up such effective spawn traps that the victims would have no other choice but to leave the game, end quote. The developers were concerned about franchise growth. They wanted to continue to reach and hook as many players as possible, but that was hard to do when large chunks of new players would join a Call of Duty match, fall prey to a hopeless spawn trap, and essentially give up on the game, saying something like, Call of Duty is a neat game, but it's just too hard for me. And then they put the game down, take the rental back, or hand the controller back to their friend at his house. Perhaps they will take another shot at it in the future, but what if they just get shit on that time too? Now, this was hurting profits. It was taking a drag on franchise growth and a drag on overall sales. It was not the end of the world, mind you. They were still breaking sales records and sending their executives home with good checks so those executives could get good blowjobs when they got there. But the point to capitalism and the goal of running any business is maximizing your profits, not settling for less, maximizing. That is what drives competition, and competition is what drives progress. This is how it has to be, sadly. Now, their first attempt at making an even playing field in a way that even the worst players could get an occasional good game was to make every weapon, perk, piece of equipment, and kill streak way overpowered, along with death streaks, of course, to help break spawn traps. Think back to Modern Warfare 2 and what people complained was OP in those days. The ACR, the FAMAS, the UMP, the RPD, the AA-12 shotgun secondaries, commando, the infamous one-man army, danger close, noob tubes in general, Harrier strikes, chopper gunners, and occasionally even the Barrett 50 cal. These things were overpowered on purpose, with the goal of empowering the noob, so that anyone could use these weapons and with a minimum amount of skill acquire the Predator missile. And the way the kill streaks worked, the Predator missile could get you to a Harrier, and that Harrier a chopper gunner. Now, perhaps it wasn't common to get a double with the Predator and then a quad with the Harrier, but it wasn't rare either, and they knew all they had to do was get the noob to the chopper gunner just once, and that noob would be hooked for life. But things didn't work out as they had intended. The stronger players, as they gained more experience, learned to use the OP mechanisms in ways that a noob could not comprehend or compete against. Perfected spawn traps went viral among the populace. The strong once again decimated the weak in a continuous cycle online, and I remember this part vividly because I was one of those decimators. We would build off each other's kill streaks and in the end have permanent Harriers and AC-130s in the air, nukes, ending games early. We would compete to see who could get the nuke first. The developers realized they had to take more drastic measures after Modern Warfare 2, that so long as players could continually gain experience, there would always be the problem of the strong destroying the weak. And so, in Black Ops 1, a new lag compensation system was implemented. Under the guise of trying to fix the host advantage problem, instead of every match having one player with a distinct advantage, every match had random groups and amounts of players at random levels of advantage and disadvantage. What the lag does is create a system of chaos in which anything is possible by anyone. And the developers are very, very fond of this system of chaos because what it means is that eventually everyone is going to have a good game. Because if the lag is working against someone, it is working in someone else's favor. That's basic logic. If you're having a laggy game, if people are teleporting around corners and your bullets are evaporating before hitting your opponents, that means those opponents are basically in invincibility mode. They can dodge bullets like the Matrix and teleport around corners, killing their enemies before their enemy even knows they exist. They are playing half a second ahead of everyone else, and even a really bad player can have a good game if the lag is working in their favor in this way. And this is what the developers want more than anything, is for a noob to get a good game, because they know if they can give a player just one good match, he will be under the COD spell for eternity. The lag works in everyone's favor at one point or another, and when it does, they generally get a good game without even trying very hard, because honestly, how much skill do you need when you're fighting an opponent who doesn't even realize you exist yet? The key is noticing. Most people don't notice when it's working in their favor. They like to think that they're just that good at the game, and that's how the developers want it, and that's how it has been since Black Ops 1, despite all the rage and complaints. And that is how it will always be, because we are victims of a vast conspiracy. Please remember to rate the video. This is Batman, signing out.